Hello, everyone. I'm back with another video here at the Signs, Planets, and Stellar Rhythms. I'm Erik Roth, your host and guide through the astrology through this upcoming month in December 2023. It's been several weeks since I've recorded a video due to some travels. I had some health issue that I had to deal with, which took up some of my energy, and so all that combined, but I'm back now recording more videos, and there will definitely be also a 2024 year upcoming forecast, if you will, outlook, astrologically speaking, for the following year here. So we're going to really get into that later time, and probably be mid-December, or maybe the week, somewhere around the week before Christmas, or around that point, where I'll be recording a video about 2024. I've already done a presentation. I'm going to be doing another presentation about that with at various locations, but this will be for YouTube, and you'll be seeing that coming up here shortly. So among other videos in the future. And I've also had to delay the live YouTube videos, which I do still plan on doing. So apologize for those. I had intended to come up with them in November, but it just didn't manifest quite yet due to unexpected events and how much energy it took to do some of the travels that I've been working on. So, okay, so without further ado, let's get into the astrology of December 2023. All right, so this is episode 56 of Signs, Planets, and Stellar Rhythms. Erik Roth, shamanic astrologer, and really excited to go into this month. There's a lot going on in December 2023 astrologically. There's some planets shifting directions. There is, of course, the annual solstice here in December, and other planets shifting signs and so forth. So we'll be getting into that. So here's some highlights that we're going to be going over. Just a quick overview of the planets. I'm not going to go over every situation, every major aspect, and everything like that. This is not as a long a videos as a few others might record, but I will still give that overview here. Neptune will be stationed direct this upcoming month, December. Mercury goes retrograde as well. We have, of course, review of the new and full moons, the December solstice, a new Vesta cycle, when Vesta moves into opposition with the sun right around the solstice. And then both Chiron and Jupiter also stationed direct. So we have three planets stationing direct in December, and then one going retrograde. And this is really setting up coming into a time where in 2024, where all the major planets will be direct. And so we'll talk about what that means coming up here in just a few moments. All right, let's go to December 2023. Let's look at a rundown. Now, you don't have to memorize all of this. The ones that are highlighted in yellow are the ones that I'm generally going to be talking about for the most part, not all of them. We have Venus changing signs twice this month, once on December 4th, moving into Scorpio, and once again on December 29th, moving into Sagittarius. The new moon's on the 12th of December, and the full moon is on the 26th of December. So, and then Neptune stations direct on the 6th, Chiron on the 26th, and Jupiter on the 30th, and then Mercury stations retrograde on the 13th. And the solstice this year is on the 21st here in the Americas. And I believe for the most part, it's Europe and Asia, it's December 22nd. Europe, Asia, and Africa, December 22nd. Okay, so other things that I won't be getting into details about are some of these other, we got a last quarter moon on the 4th of December. Mercury moves into Capricorn on the first day. And actually, this is going to be, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about Mercury in retrograde later. But there's really some really cool night sky stuff when Moon and Jupiter are in conjunction on the 22nd. That's also the morning where Mercury retrogrades back into Sagittarius. So Mercury is a evening star, but it's going to move into, as it moves between Capricorn and Sagittarius, move back into the morning sky later on. So that's part of that transition of Mercury. And when it finally goes direct, it won't go direct until January 1st. So just after the new year starts, it'll move on to stationing direct there. We do have a lot of moon planet conjunctions, which happen every month. And so I've got those listed here. And you can always pause this video to kind of capture that, to look at when those the moon in conjuncts with these various planets in this month of December here. And all right, so let's move into first major thing that happens, other than the inner planets moving into signs on the 1st and the 4th of December. We have Neptune stationing direct on December 6th. So every year the outer planets station retrograde and direct. That's an annual thing, but each one does it at its own pace. And so we're kind of in this pattern where last few years we've had a lot of planets bunching up going retrograde and then bunching up going direct within a few months of each other. And this year is no different, and carries a little bit into January of 2024. That's going to tail off in the next few years. There's a video that I talk about all planets direct, and I'll do an updated video of that in January, when we start to get close to that point where all the major planets are going to go direct again. So more to come there. But Neptune has been retrograde since June 30th. It is a very slow-moving planet. It takes a little over 13 years to travel through one sign, and on average, it moves about 2.25 degrees per year. This year, December 6th, it gets to 24 degrees, 53 minutes Pisces. It's been in Pisces since 2011, and it really doesn't fully move into Aries until the transition years of 2025 to 2026. It almost gets into Aries in 2024. It gets within, just on July 2nd, it gets to 29:55, as I've got that showing right here. And so it's almost there, but that's where it stations, or the retrograde point. So just a hair or two short of the sign of Aries. Neptune direct, or stationing direct, means the fullness of the heart and spirit will expand. This invites in what is needed for more satiation of conscious connection with our hearts, and particularly in the spiritual realm. So it's a good time to really connect on that celestial level, expansion of consciousness, really getting into the heart. If you're wanting to do alternative means of doing some journeys, or using breath, or other type of holistic practice that can be really healthy to do, this is a time to kind of go into that space, particularly for dreams and the dream world. This is always a high time for sort of the veil to be thin when Neptune is either stationing retrograde or stationing direct. It's just kind of in that still spot there. So again, this is December 6th, so right near the beginning of December. Then 5 days later, we have the new moon on December 12th. This happens at 3:32 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at 2040 Sagittarius. And as I do with the moons, new and full, or if you wanted to look at this with planetary conjunctions or station points, you can utilize Sabian symbols to do this. I utilize the work of Linda Hill, and she was inspired by Dane Rajar and others around the Sabian symbols. So her book is the Sabian Oracle. So this we add 1 to this. So the Sabian symbols 1 through 30. Zodiacal degrees are 0 through 29. So we always add 1 to that. So the 21 Sagittarius is a child and a dog wearing borrowed eyeglasses. So the key words here that she writes are emulation leading to actualization, dog obedience classes and training, pantomimes, dealing with life through play and fantasy, and also difficulty understanding each other. So it's like a disguise, something to come forward and like, what is that? So that could be a communication issue there. The perception of each has of the other. So it's shifting our perception, or changing our perception, or trying to gain some kind of perception. But it also symbolizes the spontaneous and carefree creativity, and cartooning and clowning around, basically having fun, having the eyes to see, and glasses of all kinds, being able to like perceive through a particular vibration or surface. It's like you've got a cover over either to protect yourself or to engage in just being silly or change your looks in some way. So I look at this as a really fun symbol of a new moon, employing more curiosity and enjoyment, and changes in communication and how you communicate with others, and just almost like there's a certain sense of family and friendship with that too, and that with a child and a dog, connecting that way. And this comes from page 61 of the Sabian Oracle. So that is the energy of the new moon. Now, Sagittarius by itself, the new moon in that sign is all about connecting with the future and optimism, and kind of bearing the torch, beyond where we are now, kind of being able to see our way through the dark, as Jung would. Paraphrasing Jung in his answer to the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? Well, it's to be able to, paraphrasing here, to see our way through the dark, or to navigate through the darkness in some fashion. And that, every human being has to encounter that on various times in our life. So this new moon is a great way to kind of bring up that torch, that flashlight, that that illumination into peering into the dark through curiosity, and to uncover maybe new knowledge and wisdom as we go along. All right. So the next phase, this is just after the new moon, is Mercury stationing retrograde. Now, for most people on the planet, this is December 13th in the early morning. But for the West Coast here in the Pacific Coast, it's December 12th. Now, Mercury can, station points are not just a one moment, a particular minute. For planets, it can take, for Mercury, it can take many hours, a day or so. For other planets, it can take a couple of days. So this is no exception to that with Mercury stationing retrograde. And it will do this on the 12th/13th of December at 8 degrees 29 minutes Capricorn. So Mercury's been in the sign of Capricorn since December 1st, and moves into, this is the fourth time this year we'll have a large portion of its retrograde pattern taking place in this calendar year, even though a year ago it started its retrograde just before the year 2023. And so we're going to have a lot of retrograde energy for 2024 as well. So anytime Mercury does a retrograde loop, it normally stays in a sign for about 2 months. And then normally that's Mercury speeds through in about 2 to 3 weeks. But then Mercury retrograde back into Sagittarius as it retrogrades out of Capricorn on December 22nd, then back into Capricorn again on January 13th after going direct on January 1st of 2024. The station retrograde point is a stillness point. Capricorn emphasizes the practical matters of reality and life itself. It is about real-world knowledge, but also the application of wisdom derived from that knowledge. Capricorn perceives the world through form, function, and long-term growth and stability. Now, Mercury retrograde, and I've shared this on many occasions, is this is like altering the way we think, instead of just, hammering out, getting things done and meeting the deadline and sending off things and making sure everything's efficient. With Mercury, inefficiency and messiness is sometimes the point. It's to be able to be more diligent. And when you do communicate with others, is to make sure that you try to be as clear as possible during this time, whether it's through the medium of an email or texting or some other social media, perhaps, or just in person, or on the phone, making sure that when you speak with others, that you're trying to be as clear as possible. But it's also creative play too in Mercury retrograde in general, although Capricorn, it doesn't really amount to much of that creative play, although it's more like not trying to be so attached to the form and function, and be more flexible during this time. And I would dare to say also more open to other ideas as well. And sometimes Capricorn can get stuck in that space where it's like, no, this is the way, and that's how it's going to be, so to speak. Well, this gives a Capricorn a chance to kind of open up to other territory. So for those that have personal points or planets in the late degrees of Sagittarius and the first 8 to 10 degrees of Capricorn, Mercury retrograde is definitely going to be impactful for you. Like for me personally, I have a couple of planets in the latter part of Sagittarius. So I'm definitely going to be watching for, that in my own personal life and in my own perception of, what Sagittarius perceives. And for Sagittarius, it's about the curiosity. It's about looking for truth and meaning in the world and opening up to that, utilizing your intuitive skills. And, as it all applies, all that I shared applies to Sagittarius too, except when I describe Capricorn. But the Sagittarius part will be kind of opened up a little bit more, and where it maybe helps it see things beyond what it would normally fixate on. Like, the shadow of Sagittarius would be fundamentalism. So if we're stuck in one truth or one meaning, perhaps with Mercury retrograde, that can kind of open up a different level of meaning and truth there. All right, so let's see where Mercury is in the sky. It's over in the Archer constellation, and it will retrograde back. This is just the evening of December 12th, so just before it hits retrograde. And it'll go back over the galactic center 2 more times. So it hits this center point 3 times in the month of December and January. And this is a really important point. This is where mythologically is the Golden Gate, where souls leave the Earth and go to the center of the galaxy, where near the black hole or at the black hole. So it's going to help kind of activate that more strongly, and maybe open up the pathways more, as Mercury is a messenger planet going between worlds. And it's the one, quote, ancient god Hermes/Mercury was the one that would can move back and forth and be a messenger of the gods in the underworld as well, and also leading souls into the afterlife. So there is a psychopomp role of Hermes being shown here currently in the sign of Capricorn and Sagittarius. All right. Now, December solstice takes place on the 21st at 7:27 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this is when the north part of the Earth, the North Polar area, is tilted toward the sun, and the southern is tilted away. I'm sorry, the northern is tilted away from the sun, and the southern is tilted toward the sun. So it's opposite when we get to the June solstice. So this is sort of the annual point where that happens. Astrologically, it's considered 0 Capricorn. And that's when the sun is at 0 degrees Capricorn. And that's why the signs are more intimate with us. We have a deeper relationship with the astrological signs. They can be called seasonal signs, or they can be called temporal signs, meaning that it's our place in time and the energy in time that we are connected with. There's a different kind of intangible relationship with that impacts us on a psychic level, psychological level, so that we work with. And this is, starts to bring up the information or the knowledge of archetypes as well. So solstice is a really important part. I consider on personal level the start of a new year, but there are other points in the calendar that you could utilize on the solar calendar, or if you use a lunar calendar, you can utilize maybe the closest new moon to the solstice, or to the equinox, or maybe to one of the points in between, say the solstice or the equinox. So all depends on your own perception and what you're feeling gravitating toward. Like the ancient Celtic people, they viewed the cross quarter point of Samhain as their new year, that which happened in November 1st, traditionally. Astrologically, that doesn't happen until about November 6th or 7th or so. But it has to do with the differences of the Gregorian calendar with our solar year, and how we oriented the calendar, and how it kind of got all thrown out of whack over many centuries ago. Because each culture, each nation, they had their own civil calendar, and then they had their own religious and or spiritual calendar as well, among other calendars that they created. Okay, so there's something, the Vesta opposition. This is, I'm not going to speak too much about this, but they'll do, I'm looking to do a full video just about this, because it's the start of a new Vesta cycle. So at 10:56 a.m., just before the solstice, Vesta comes into a new synodic cycle, December 21st, 2023. And that happens when the sun and Vesta are at opposite points, so opposition with each other. And that is at 2938 Gemini. That's where Vesta will be, and sun will be in Sagittarius. Now, sometimes Vesta can be visible. It's an asteroid. It can be visible. It's the only one that can be visible with the naked eye during certain times of its orbit. This is not one of those times, but it's when the sun sets on that day, or when it rises, you know that Vesta is setting also and or rising. So that'll be something that each individual can tune into. If you happen to have some personal points in the latter degrees of Gemini and the early degrees of Cancer, because Vesta is going to spend a lot of time in Gemini and Cancer during this period of time. It's already been spending a lot of time in Cancer recently, and it's going to back into to Gemini just the day before the solstice. This cycle will go on, the synodic cycle will go on all the way until May 1st of 2025, when it's in the sign of Scorpio. Okay, so the full moon, December 26th, the day after Christmas, that happens at 4:33 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, at 4:58 Cancer. This is the Sabian symbol of 5 Cancer. It's at a railroad crossing. An automobile is wrecked by a train. Now, that might sound like horrible or something, and there is definitely a tragedy with that. But this is like about the deeper symbolic lessons here with what this symbolizes. So it's about not looking to the consequences of action. So if you're going into over a railroad yard, depending on the circumstances, maybe you're trying to drive in between the cross guards, and in order to be in a hurry because you need to get somewhere on time. So Linda Hill writes about recklessness and not considering the ramifications or consequences. So lots of people causing problems with scheduling. So you don't make the meeting like it was really important, and the car gets wrecked. Maybe it's just there's people survive, or jumped out of the car before the train hit. This would be one of those things where it sets off ripples through other people's lives as well. So transportation issues, cars and trains, crossroads. It's also commenting on individual rights and rebelling. So like, oh, I don't believe in these crossing guards. I'm just going to go on my own, forget the rules, forget the laws, even though some are in place in order for, in reality, to, protect us. I mean, if we're not paying attention to certain things and crossing guards come down, then we know, don't cross the railroad track. So, it's more of kind of common sense safety features there in society. So, but also the need for good timing. So the full moon represents this sense of like, hey, watch what's going on around you, have greater awareness, be conscious of actions and consequences, and to time it right if you are going to be taking a chance like that. But I obviously don't support trying to cross and go in between the crossing guards unless there's absolutely no train coming and it's just a malfunction of the system itself. So that's what that 5 Cancer represents. And what's really cool about this particular full moon is that it's pretty close to the solstice, the June solstice point. So it's right there near the middle of the sacred hoop of stars from the Lakota tradition. And it's in the constellation of the Twins. Now, some of the stars will be outshined by this moon and kind of washed out by the light, but you'll still be able to see quite a number of stars surrounding the moon. So that's going to be definitely, if we have nice skies wherever you might be, you could be able to see that. So it's definitely something worth tuning into there. Okay, so then we have two more planets stationing direct. Chiron stations direct on December 26th of 2023. And Chiron will station direct at 15 degrees 27 minutes in the constellation of the Fish. Chiron has been in retrograde motion since July 23rd. This planetary body has a highly elliptical orbit, can spend as little as 2.5 years in a sign, or as much as over 7 years, which is happening right now in a given sign. Currently, Chiron is traveling about 3 to 4 degrees per year in the sign of Aries. Now, once it leaves Aries, it'll start to increase its speed just slowly, because it'll be in Taurus for a number of years too, but that won't happen until I think it's 2027 is when it moves into that next stage. I think it will be in Aries for a total of about 8 years, depending on give or take some months there. In 2024, Chiron will reach all the way to 23 degrees 32 minutes. Chiron this 2023 reached just under 20 degrees Aries. So about 3.5 degrees this in 2023. And that will happen on July 26, 2024, when it reaches 23.5 degrees, thereby stationing retrograde. Chiron's station direct point provides a moment of going deeper and doing deeper inner work for us, and to release the toxins within us on a soul or psychological level particularly. But it can be done through the physical realm as well, through fasting, cleanses, and other natural alternative means. There's greater commentary I would have on Chiron and Aries. I've done a video. You can look for that in my YouTube videos. But that's one where this is powerful commentary on our society and our fascination with war and getting mission accomplished by any means, and being reactive rather than trying to bring in an awareness or thoughtfulness or compassion into our actions. So war is definitely something that I personally do not like. I'm fascinated by humanity's fascination about it. And there's a book that I mention at times when I talk about Chiron and Aries, or Aries in general, that James Hillman writes. It's called A Terrible Love of War. And certainly with some major wars going on right now in the world, it might be worth checking that out and kind of getting some background about humanity and its relationship to war and soldiering and professional armies and all of that. All right, so Jupiter stations direct on December 30th of 2023. And Jupiter's been in the constellation of the Ram, and it will station at 5 degrees 34 minutes on December 30th. It's been retrograde since September 4th, and it's the fastest moving of the outer planets, and takes about a year or a little over a year to travel through one sign. On average, Jupiter can move between 30 and 36 degrees per year, and at times it can spend as much as 13 months in a sign. In 2024, Jupiter will go all the way to 2120 Gemini. It moves into Gemini on May 25th, 2024, and it will reach 2120 degrees Gemini on October 9th, and then thereby stationary retrograde at that point. So this station direct point allows us to deepen while expanding ourselves at this standstill point, especially our relationship and appreciation of the beauty, abundance, and pleasure of Gaia. Taurus, the sign of Taurus is about pleasures, comforts, and sensuality and beauty. And definitely has a powerful relationship with Mother Earth and its abundance. It's what we draw from it. So this could be a time of kind of appreciating and connecting with Mother Earth and spending some time out in nature and just taking pleasure in ourselves, in a sense of like, oh, I want to, schedule a massage, or I just want to take a day in comfort and just relax, on the couch or something like that. So if you've got some moments there on that day, that could be a good day to kind of celebrate that. Well, that's what I got for you in the month of December. Major highlights, but not all the different little aspects and stuff are there. That would be a much, much longer video. So again, my name is Erik Roth, and this has been a presentation about the month of December, the astrological happenings in the month of December 2023. And you can find me at inspiralnexus.com. You can contact me at inspiralnexus@gmail.com. And then I have another astrological organization that I work with in Kaylin Castell, and we do online courses at mystaralchemy.com, and we're doing one currently about the stellar gateways. There's two powerful stellar gateways we're going to talk about that we've been talking about. And so you can join in anytime as they're recorded. So anybody can come in and join in and work with the stars that way through those recordings, and hopefully join us live for some of the classes. Thank you all for being part of this. Please like and share and subscribe if you are inclined to do so. And thank you for watching, and I look forward to more in the future. Take care, everyone.